Hey YouTube, DasGregor here. I'm going to try and do a short video of first impressions of a new Gentoo based distribution. This one is from Switzerland. It is a penetration style Gentoo flavor. And what I mean by that is Pentoo is based on doing security testing and cracking, etc., to verify and secure certain websites. Inside of the Pentoo folder here, you'll see that you have analyzers, cracker tools, exploitation devices, forensic files and programs. It pretty much has taken all of the great tools that we have out there that can be used for any type of penetration testing and placed it in one great repository or space. Now, one nice thing that I have found out about Pentoo is that you don't have to install Pentoo just to be able to find all these tools. There is a layman overlay for Pentoo that you can install in any Gentoo flavor, which will give you access to all of the tools that they have within that overlay. So that's something simple and easy that anybody could do to be able to grab a lot of these files that are located here. Now, this installation was pretty easy. It wasn't that difficult to get to lay down, but it's not doing your typical install. I believe that when it lays everything down, all it really is doing is pretty much taking the image that you have on your disk and copying it to your location. When you boot up, it doesn't boot into a GUI. It does go into a command line, in which case, after everything is set, you need to be able to know how to start X to get your graphics and your GUI interface to start working. I have run into problems getting the NVIDIA card to work. I am currently using just generic Xorg drivers. I was getting a libgl.so.1 error every single time that I tried to install the NVIDIA drivers. I don't know if that is unique to their distribution or if that is a problem with the drivers at this point in time. I played with it for a little bit and decided it really wasn't worth trying to figure it out, considering that most likely after I'm done with my review, I'm going to be wiping out this partition to throw on the next one. And I kind of burned myself out on Ututo trying to do so much, trying to make it work, and so I decided, why spend the effort? You guys aren't really caring about a lot of that stuff. I just want to show this to you, so it's not that important. Anyway, Pentoo is an interesting distribution because it does have all of these great applications and utilities here. However, it does still come with everything that you would need to run basic Linux. I am running XFCE here. They did not have, that I noticed, a KDE flavor, and the only reason why I was using KDE as kind of a benchmark for everything else was so that I could try to keep these uniform. You know, I don't want to try to compare apples and oranges and have people say, oh well, the features that you were talking about aren't that great because you were in this GUI interface versus that GUI interface. So I was trying to keep the playing field as level as possible. Either way though, it does install XFCE. Of course, anybody who knows anything about Gentoo knows it's not that hard to go ahead and emerge KDE or GNOME or any other GUI interface that they want to use, or desktop manager, and can change it to what they'd like instead. It is a quick and simple way though to get to some great tools. Otherwise, everything else, like I said, is standard. Here is your settings for this. It did come with Porthole. Now, I think I've told you in a couple other videos, Porthole is the portage front end right here. However, if you try to run Porthole from XFCE, you'll get errors due to the fact that you really need to run it as super user or an account with administrative privileges, because as many of you know, if you try to run a merge without super user privileges or admin rights, it's not going to install the programs or compile the programs you need to have done. I have not been able to figure out, because I'm not an XFCE expert, on how to go about changing, for instance, this menu entry so that it will run as a super user, and I have not found a super user command for XFCE that's similar to KDESU or something like that. Let's see. Everything else, you can see that I do have these system settings for NVIDIA. That's because I did try to get it to install, but if I try to go in there and change the OpenGL using eSelect, I get errors everywhere, so I just bounced it back for now. Let's see what else we have here. The Pentoo installer, like I said, this is just exactly the way it looks when you boot up with their DVD. Of course, I'm using a USB stick instead, so this is pretty much just like the DVD or USB stick. It doesn't come with LibreOffice or anything else. I can see it comes with an email, Mozilla Thunderbird there. The multimedia area, everything here is standard, except I did install GUVC and the QD Record at my desktop. However, at this point in time, I am attempting to see about using FFmpeg to capture everything and speak with you. I'm not using the video at this point because every time I did, it was really jumpy, really sporadic, and maybe you guys don't even want to look at my bad mug, so we'll just leave it like this. You can still hear my beautiful radio voice. I have heard many times that I do have the face for radio, but that's going off topic. Alright, what else do we have here? Let's open up the web browser. We are using actually Firefox instead of some of the others that I have seen. Of course, it runs just fine, and the benchmark testing seems to be just fine with that as well. Simple things. If you're familiar with XFCE, the Thunar File Manager, LeafPad for a Notepad, gedit, all those sort of things are pretty much normal. You don't have a lot though outside of this, and as I said, I couldn't get some of the newer graphics drivers to load. It does not come with GIMP, as I said, it doesn't come with LibreOffice. Bare bones pretty much. This is a flavor of Linux that is used for a specific purpose, and if you want that, then I would suggest you check out Pentoo from Switzerland. Otherwise, if you just want some of the flexibility and tools that the Pentoo distribution has to offer, I would greatly suggest adding the Pentoo overlay with Layman within Gentoo and then seeing what all you can install. I also noticed on their website that they did say that they had a meta file that will install everything from Pentoo on any Gentoo based distribution, so that's a great way to get it all without having to go pick and choose and not know what you want. Outside of that, everything else was pretty straightforward, a lot less of a headache than what I dealt with Ututo last week. I hope you enjoy this video. I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter, so I'm trying my best to rack my brain for everything I want to say to you and say it quick and get done with it. I don't want to have you guys having to sit there with 24-minute reviews, and there's not really much else to talk about with this one. It is still a very stable version. Luckily, most everything that I have tested out has been pretty stable. I really wish that Ututo would have been a little bit easier for me. Like I said in my little synopsis, I don't know if it was the language barrier issue or if there were just some other problems with that flavor and my hardware there could have been a lot of little things. But when you're just wanting to look at it, give a first impressions, and spit it out, you don't want to spend too much time, fixing it all up just to wipe it out the next week. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all the great comments you've been giving me. I appreciate the feedback. I enjoy hearing what you guys have to say. Hopefully you guys like the new layout of YouTube there. I had to do a little bit of modifications. I'm not too crazy about it. But until my next video, and I'm not sure what distribution I'll be grabbing next, I hope if you're watching this in the morning, evening, noon, or night, whatever part of the day it is, I hope you're having a good part of that day. Until next time, thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.